Okay, yeah. It can be 4 random numbers. It can be a word. It can be, anything not profane. Something like 5862 type 41FB is common passwords people I see a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is fine, although it's easy to, hopefully not 2 people will use the same one. I don't usually have that problem. Any short string of digits or letters that you will instantly recognize as you. Your name is probably not a good choice. Otherwise, everybody knows what your grades are. I'm going to be recording these things as I go along, and I'll post these so that you'll have them to look at later, if I can stand to look at this bright light. So welcome to Microbial Diversity. Most of you have heard of this class before, hopefully wonderful, great things. If not, I'll try to rectify that. Oops. This is the website for the class, and we're going to spend today going over this website and talking about how this class works, and then talking about some very introductory kinds of topics. Things like what is microbial diversity, and how different are organisms really. But let's start at the beginning. The website is here. You can see the address, part of it there. I can show you the whole thing here. www.mbio, as in microbiology, .ncsu.edu/MB451 will get you there. You'll use this site a lot, so make sure to bookmark that and have access to it. I've got some introductory things on here that you're free to review, including reviews of the syllabus and technical help for those of you who might have trouble with some of the computerology. And then a link here. I always put news up here. And of course, this is the first day, so all I say is welcome to Microbial Diversity. That stuff is kept right here on the news page. And so I post announcements, if there's a problem with an exam, if there's a change in schedule, etc. I post that information here. My recommendation is every time you go online to check, to look up stuff on the site, is that you check this news page. The syllabus. Everybody has a syllabus, right? First of all, what is a syllabus? A syllabus is a contract between me and you about what this class is. Here's me. My office is in Clark Lab. Most of you have been there once or twice before. I've got a bunch of contact information here, most of which is irrelevant, because the way to get a hold of me is to send me an email. James_w@ncsu.edu, James_brown@ncsu.edu. I've got my office number here, probably the least effective way to get a hold of me. I've got my cell phone here. What I tell people is that if you call my cell phone number or send me a text, something better be on fire. But if something is on fire, you better send me a text or call me. My website is here. This has got a bunch of information about me and classes and research and all that kind of stuff. And my schedule is right here. It's a regular Google Calendar, and you can see everything that's going on right here. And so if you want to send me an email and say, I'd like to meet with you, your first thing you should do is to check here and see when I have time free, right? And propose, I'd like to meet you such and such a time. Traditional versus the online lecture. How many of you are in the online class? For registration purposes, these are fundamentally different classes. In reality, there is no difference whatsoever. Everything that the online students have available to them is on this website for everybody to see, for all of you. Conversely, I don't care whether you come to class or not. That's the attendance policy for this class. My purpose here is to help you. If you don't want or need that help, that's fine with me. You guys are adults, right? So if you feel like these lectures help you, please come. If you don't feel like they help you, I'd kind of be surprised. But nevertheless, please feel free not to come. That's entirely up to you. There is no distinction between the online and lecture section except for one, which is exams. During exam times, the online students take their exams at the Delta Center, and the traditional students take them here. That's it. Course description and learning outcomes, we'll get to all that. This class is divided, I'll show you on the schedule. There's 3 sections to this class: introductory stuff, what is molecular phylogenetics and what is diversity, that kind of thing, followed by a midterm exam. Then we take a walk through the entire phylogenetic tree of microbes, and then there's a second midterm exam. And then we talk about genomics and diversity and how microbial populations are measured experimentally, and then a final exam. During the week, there are also 2 sections. We meet 3 times a week, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday and Wednesday, except for this first week, are a more or less traditional lecture. Friday is a discussion session. And like the lectures, you can do these online or offline, either one, whichever you see fit. I'll show you what those look like, but typically there's some kind of a prompt. I talk about something, and then you guys get together in groups and put together a response. Something interesting. These can vary quite a lot. It's okay, eat if you wish. These can vary quite a lot. We might talk about a paper. I like one on Tasmanian devil facial disease. How many of you have heard of this before? Yeah, really cool. It's a cancer that's transmitted from one animal to another. Not very common. I'm going to do one on Yellowstone, hot springs of Yellowstone, show you some pictures and tell you about them. That's probably the most popular lecture in this class. And a variety of other topics. And I'll give you a fair bit of latitude. Most weeks I will poll you and say, here are some options. What do you want to talk about? Prerequisites, yeah, you wouldn't be here if you hadn't dealt with that. There's the website. Again, attendance policy. I'm not interested in whether you're here or not. Except for exams, of course. Academic integrity. If I catch you cheating, I will turn you in. It's as simple as that. I haven't done that in a long time, but I have done it. I had 2 students suspended as a result. I get an exam back, and starting on question 5, their answers were identical, including misspelled words. All right? If you're going to cheat, number 1, cheat off of a good student. and number 2, it's not worth it, because who are you cheating? Yep, you're not cheating me. You're not cheating the other students in the class. What happens, though, when you've got a job and you're expected to know something and you don't? That's where your cheating fails to pay off. Student evaluations, like every class, you have to do student evaluation, or they nag you incessantly with emails. This is the textbook for the class. Much of the material for this is also online, but what's in the book is up to date and what's online is not, which is the reverse of the usual. This is also much more convenient than the website. It's got better pictures, too. All the other stuff. Accommodation for disabilities. If you are registered with the DSO, in order for me to allow you the appropriate accommodations, I have to know about it. And that means you have to register with them and get them to send me the information, and then you come and talk to me about it. Accommodations for this class are really easy. There's nothing to it. And don't feel weird or anything like that about it. I don't mind a bit. Likewise for lab. Those things are trivial. There's nothing to it. Non-discrimination policy. This whole class is about diversity. Diversity is power. Seriously, it is in a population. Here's the schedule. Every one of these things is a link to a web page. And so, for example, here is a short web page on the introduction that we're going to get to in a minute. The larger web pages have recordings posted on them like so. Currently, I have audio recordings only from last year. As we go along, I'll try to replace those with these crappy audio-visual recordings that I'm doing right now, okay? Hopefully they're useful. They are big, and that means they take a while to download depending on your connection speed. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to give you an access code right now. Because these things, so for example, I don't own this picture, and so I can't make it publicly available on a website. So what that means is that there's a wall that you have to get past. I will create an account for each of you according to your Unity ID and the PIN you give me, but you can access these at any time using the following information. The username is test, T-E-S-T. And the password is type 41, capital F, capital B. Anybody have any idea what that means? No. Coolest Lotus race car ever built. Type 41, Formula B. 1967, I think. So, my advice is to, before class, go through and survey these, and then use these notes and the book as your way of keeping up in class. Oh, okay. So some operating systems, depending on the security settings, what you have to do is go to the discussion session, log in the same way, and then when you go back, it will let you log in. Usually about 3 students in the class have this issue, and you're having it now, so that's good. Again, notice that every Friday we have a discussion session. We have no class, of course, on Martin Luther King Day. The first midterm exam is February 1st. I'll talk about exams in a minute. The discussion session on the Friday before spring break is canceled. Nobody wants to be here on the Friday before spring break. Spring break, nothing. Second midterm exam is March 21. How many of you guys are football fans? And by guys, I mean yeah, okay. So you guys are really lucky, because most semesters, this midterm exam falls on Super Bowl Monday. Not this time. That's the single biggest complaint I get about this class. Spring holiday, no class. The last day of classes is the 25th of April, and the final exam is 2 days later at 8 o'clock in the morning. Sorry about that, I have no power over it. However, as I'll talk about in a minute, the midterm or the final exam is no big deal, no different than any of the other exams, and there's a 3-hour window for this exam. So I'm going to suggest later on to push it back a little bit so that we don't have to be here quite so early. I bring coffee to the final exam, which means I have to stop and get some, and I drive from Greensboro every day, so 8 o'clock in the morning is too early for me to do that. Exams. There are 2 midterms and a final. They are exactly the same. There's no difference between the final and the midterms. They cover material dealt with in the previous section of the class only. They're not comprehensive. Every exam has 2 components. I'll give you a take-home portion a week before, and a set of rules for what you can and can't do. It's actually pretty inclusive. You can do almost anything, which is real life, right? And then an in-class portion of the exam that you take right here, or in the case of online students in the Delta Testing Center. The first question of every exam I have ever given in this class is, what are the 3 primary evolutionary branches of life? And the answer to that question is bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Please don't miss this question. All right? Just spell them right. Here are copies of every exam I've ever given in this class. This is the best way to study. Just for example, here's the first midterm from last year. If you read that question, you'll have a coronary. The discussion sessions. We'll do these most Fridays, as I mentioned. Not this first Friday, because we only have a piece of a week. And I need to give you accounts. The way these typically work, every one is a little bit different. But here's one, for example, on, I don't know, nanobacteria. Any of you ever heard of nanobacteria before? No? These were a rage a few years ago. People thought that every disease that existed were caused by nanobacteria. It turns out they're a complete and utter artifact. But they're an interesting artifact. And so we talk about them, and I give you an assignment, a list of questions that you as little groups can decide on, and then you post some kind of response. And you can see I haven't done anything from last year, but whether you do these in class or outside of class, you post them onto this website like so, and you can see some of the kind of responses that people give. And these are graded and count toward your grade. Speaking of grades, like I said, I post my grade book, it'll be right up there. 400 classes, 400 points I mean. 100 points for each of 3 midterms, and 100 points is a sum of all the discussion sessions. We will probably have 12 discussion sessions, each one worth 10 points, and I'll drop the 2 lowest ones. Total of 400 points, and the grading scale is a straight 10%. I will say that I usually curve the grades at the end a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. This thing gives you at least a minimum. But it's not like some chemistry classes where there's a 30-point difference in how well you do and what grade you get. If you wish to change this to audit or pass-fail, we can talk about it, but most of you are micro majors and you need this for a grade to graduate. Any questions about all that? Yeah? No. Someone in your group should have a computer, and you'll post them on here, same as everybody else. The biggest difference between doing them in class and doing them out of class is that usually people who do it in class do it in a group, and people who do it out of class do it individually, although you could get together and do them that way as well. If you do them in class, you can usually get the thing done in the hour allotted, and you're finished with it.